putting on some chapstick because I was about to get ready. Welcome. My name is Monique. I go by Nikki, and I wanted to create this first video to just introduce myself, my journey, what led me to fitness, and pretty much just like why I'm so passionate about it and like what I came here to fucking do. It really started when I entered college. So right after high school, or I mean pretty much during like my senior year of high school, I was going through some hormonal changes. I needed to regulate my cycle, and so I got on birth control, and it totally just messed me up, like messed up my hormones, and I gained a lot of weight. I was normally like within 100 to like 110 pounds, and I ended up gaining like 20 pounds, and I was weighing at 135, and that was actually my wrestling weight. And because yeah, your girl fucking wrestled. Story about that later. But yeah, like I gained weight, and it really made me feel a type of way about myself because I had never ever had that problem. Like, I kid you not, I was always 100 pounds, like always. I mean, I was a late bloomer. I was in high school when I like first ever got, you know? So like it's crazy to just see those effects and be like, like I was so young. I didn't understand that it was because the birth control, oddly enough, was double the dosage. Come on, how the fuck are you gonna give teenagers like triple the dose that they're supposed to have, like starting out? And anyways, crazy. And so in college, I ended up gaining more weight, and I was weighing at 160 pounds. I mean, I was very athletic, yeah, but to get to 160, I mean, I really didn't have as much mass as I do now, for sure. All the weight that I gained was just like that. Like, when I transitioned from high school to college, like it took me a while to get, adjusted to the whole system. Like, you have so much freedom and what you can eat, what you can do, how to manage your time. And I was working a lot. I was taking the bus, like I was doing whatever I could possible, riding my bike, like I did whatever I could. And it seemed to have helped lose some of that weight, drop that weight. Who's that? Titi! What's that?
She's sitting right outside your door.
How the hell did she just open it? She's never opened it. So, I'm 160 pounds. I'm in college. Bitch gained a freshman 30 pounds. And I had no idea what to do, where to look. I was taking classes to learn more about it. I took nutrition course. I was taking like kin classes, whatever I could possible, mixed in with, all my courses for psychology. So I'm learning all that I could, and I'm starting to apply it. So nutrition course was super helpful. I learned a lot about vitamins and how some of them complement each other, proteins and essential aminos and like non-essential. So like so many different things that I was learning. And it was really nice. I was like, okay, gaining some traction. I was going to the gym all the time. And then, lo and behold, your girl wasn't stretching back then. Had no idea what that was. And I was feeling a lot of pain in my low back, especially, in my knees, a lot, kind of my neck area. And so I was literally desperate to find anything. I mean, I almost got kicked out of school because depression really fucking hit. Like, it hit so hard. I almost got kicked out because the medication I was taking was making me fall asleep almost like every class. Like, I had no idea what was going on. I would go home and it was the same thing. Like, I was just constantly tired, and I was sleeping a lot. Like, I'm not really doing any homework at that point. But see, I got so used to just like I don't know, doing school was always so easy for me. But that moment, man, I mean, when you're about to get kicked out and you have to write a letter and tell them why you still belong there. I mean, they'll smack you right in the shape. Whip, I forgot that phrase thing. I don't know. Whip you into shape. And so yeah, like I was learning a lot of different things. I started to FOMO more. Still wasn't getting it right, but hey, I was feeling better. I wasn't feeling a lot of pain. And then after I graduated, that's when I pursued behavior therapy. So I was working with children and young teenagers, young adults, like who had autism how to, you know, play, how to just have social skills, how to engage with other people and all these things. And I did that for a few years. I was working at a school district, but yo, it was really exhausting, really stressful. And I felt like my ability to help wasn't at its full potential. I was like, this is not it. Like, okay, I was also really young, and I just didn't like, it was really exhausting for me energetically. Like, I was really struggling to just like stay afloat and keep my energy high. Like, I've always had pretty high energy, but it was tough. It was tough. And then, so I wasn't happy, and then I started to go to school for personal training. That changed everything. But my schedule was so crazy. I would go to the school, work with the kids, and then go home, take a nap, and then go to a 5-hour class every night, every Monday through Friday. You know, so I had a school schedule, and then I had to go to class, and it was just crazy. I loved it though. I really loved the personal training. I felt more alive there, but to, you know, to be up so early and stay there that late, like, it really like took a toll. And I loved fitness, so I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go with it. And so through that program, I learned even more about the body and like dysfunction, and how just even working out, like as much as I was, how it can get you the knee pain, how, you know, your hips can get tight. And that's when I realized that, yeah, I was stretching, yeah, I was foam rolling, but I still wasn't doing it right. I was still missing some things. So I learned a lot there, and I just felt like this is the money maker. I mean, listen, just like anyone else, have experienced trauma in my life. And that trauma in my body, it got stored in different areas. I felt the tension. Like, have you ever listened to music and it's like a rock or a metal song, and inside you feel thrown off? Like, you feel like, I have anxiety. Like, oh my God, like I'm feeling this way, like, you know? I used to be really sensitive to that. So depending on what I was listening to, at the moment I was listening to, like, you know, metal and ska and a lot of house, and like it was a lot of uppers, a lot of music that was uppers, essentially, like in my mind, right? Not anything that was too chill, like, you know, it was really, really hard for me to. I noticed that, like, I always wanted to be elevated. I'd be on the bus sitting, and my leg would just be like tapping to the beat of the song or whatever. Like, I was always on go mode, you know, and it helped. I mean, if you're a college student, you know, you really want to have some energy and make it through your whole day or through a class or whatever. So it was cool, but I did notice that I was holding that there, and I would sit on the bus, like, you know, kid you not, sit on the bus, and my back would just be arched in the seat, and I'd just be tapping, and I'd just be like dancing, right? And this is one example. Like, I started bringing the words, and I was like, whew, like, my back is overworking right now. Like, what is happening? And I just, like, I started to kind of tune in a little, and I was like, what am I doing in my day-to-day that's keeping me really elevated? You know, my energy, my physiological self, my body. Like, I was really trying to, like, find anything I could. When I started to get body work done, that's when I noticed a big difference, because I feel like my head's everywhere, like my thoughts are everywhere. I'm like, this is what I was supposed to talk about right now. This is what I was supposed to say. But so going back to the trauma. So the trauma for me got held in certain areas. Okay, I'm gonna be vulnerable right now. I've never really said this publicly, but this is for educational purposes. Okay. One example of a traumatic experience that I had was I got into a physical altercation with my boyfriend at the time, someone I was living with. So, and that was my first experience there. But we were arguing. His grandfather had just passed away, and it was weird because, of course, during that time, it's really hard for anybody. Like my grandparents, like if they were to pass away, I'd be so heartbroken. So I understand how, you know, sensitive he was during that time, but it just seemed like after his grandfather's passing, like things just got worse. And so we were arguing, and At that time, he was being really destructive with my things. There would be moments where he would just like grab my clothes and start throwing them outside, ripping them, breaking the hangers. Like, he would just grab my stuff and just start throwing it everywhere. He would even grab my phone and just like throw it. And so one thing led to another. He ended up restraining me, like putting me in a chokehold and like twisting my body. And I at that time when he did that, I just heard my spine go like the whole thing. And I like, mind you, I like was twisted up. So one side of my spine is like, there's like a slight rotation, so that's like, it's a little bit more like on this side, it's a little more inflamed. And during the time when I was getting body work done, that area in particular, every time they would go and massage it, I would just feel so sad. I would start crying and I would get angry, and it was just like an instant like flashback almost, like every time I'd get work done. And then sometimes even in my glutes, like there was just always a deep sadness, you know? Like I was hurt, I was physically hurt, and I was still dealing with the repercussions. Like it was really, really upsetting. Like I just felt like, what the fuck? Like why did this happen? And that was the last time anything physical like that has happened, but I have been put in other situations that have also caused, you know, areas of like my throat to like, you know, close up and like not say anything and not be vocal. And it was weird. Like it was the first time that I heard about that happening. And there's this book called The Body Keeps Score, where it talks about these things and how like veterans who have PTSD, how in their bodies they can still be reliving their traumas and feeling them, and you know, because it's all just being held, it's not being released. So it's like, it's crazy how that, like how I came out upon learning that, because I had to have had the work done in order to know, if that makes sense. It was crazy because it used to happen just in my low back and my glute area, where like I felt like I had most of the trauma, inner thighs as well, like a lot of the hip, all of this kind of center of ourselves. It's heavily related to us feeling grounded, us feeling safe, us feeling confident in ourselves, having like good self-esteem. And I definitely didn't have any of that. Growing up, I feel like I definitely struggled with a lot, and seeing, you know, different types of abuse as well, experiencing different ones, including sexual abuse, which was something that I felt at the time. I was like, I'll forget about it. Like, it's not even, like, whatever, move on. But it's still something that haunted me way later. And, like, I just had no idea how it was going to unfold, but it did. It ended up in pretty much a lot of my relationships, a lot of, like, emotional, like, dysregulation. Like, I had no idea what that stuff had done to me. And so I pretty much had just gone on this big journey trying to figure stuff out about the mind, you know, going to psychology, then to study more about the body, and now learning more on the energy systems within the body, all of the chakras. And I don't know, I like to say it like that. The first is the root chakra. It governs the foundations of our lives and core issues, including basic needs, sense of security, our home and family life, and how we feel in our bodies and on this earth. So you can just imagine, like, I had a like kind of a freak accident too when I was younger, and it was like on my tailbone. So just imagine, like, when that type of trauma, like, your body is gonna move in different ways to protect itself. You know, whenever you sprain your ankle, you're not gonna walk on that foot, right? So that happens automatically, you know, whether we realize it, whether we're conscious about it or not. And so this area was damaged for me at a young age. The second chakra is the sacral chakra. I haven't even shown you pictures, but it's like right at our reproductive organs. And so this is considered to be the creative and sexual energy of our bodies, and is linked to matters of intimacy, connection, things about fertility, reproduction. But also, if it is functioning properly, we are content, uninhibited in our relationships and creative endeavors, and capable of deep intimacy and exude a joyful vibrancy. When we go through any sexual abuse, this is of course one of them that is greatly affected. People who have like really high sex drive can have an overactive one, but it can also just be due to some maybe blockages elsewhere that, you know, it's crazy how it's just all combined, like all of our energy. And okay, I'm going too much into this, but so the chakras are pretty much our energy centers, but much more closely, it's where there is hormone production or transmission in the body. So there's 7 chakras, and the ones that I can remember off the top of my head is the crown, is the dopamine, is the serotonin, is the epinephrine, but those are the brain transmitters that we need to feel good and balanced and joyful and happy, and still have moments where we're chill and relaxed, maybe even feel sadness, you know, of course. You gotta have, you know, the good and the bad, but that's that center. Then the third eye is the pineal gland, and let's see, from there we go into our throat chakra, and this is where we have a lot of lymph nodes here. And there's a lot of detoxification that occurs here. The heart, the blood is pumping. It's where it's like there's crazy things that are happening there. And then we have the solar plexus, and in the gut, that's where cortisol is produced. And so when we are really stressed, sometimes we can just hold a lot, like retain a lot more fat and fluff there because of high cortisol. And then we have the sacral aspect, the lower portion, and that's where we have our reproductive organs. So you got those main hormones. So there's a lot that's happening in these energy systems. You can look at it in any different way that you want, whether you want to do the scientific route and go challenge it through the hormones, or if you really want to go through the energetic route. Both have been very helpful for me. I'm such a big nerd. I need to have both. Like, I'm a very physical person, and when they talk about energy, I can feel it. I'm in tune, but some concepts are sometimes easier to understand, and it's easier to apply when you know the science as well. So definitely look into them however you want to. Utilize both if you can, and apply it. Since I've been learning about these energy systems and about my own health, like, it's been really fascinating to understand both of them. There's 2 different disciplines there, but they each provide different insights. So for example, we're gonna use me as a test dummy. So my biggest issue is my stomach. The girl don't got no 6-pack, and I, for some reason, hold more fluff here than in other parts of my body. So it begs the question, why? There's this good book called The Mood Cure. I don't know the author. I'll also put down the name of the books in the info box. From that Mood Cure, I took that test, found out that milk was irritating my stomach. I was allergic to it to an extent, but it wasn't like I was lactose or anything like that. I really didn't notice much other than excessive burping. And so that was kind of weird. And I also didn't have enough like pro and prebiotics. Prebiotics was also a new thing I had no idea about. But I ended up taking probiotics and later prebiotics, and that really seemed to help. And then I also was looking into different sources and also kind of piecing 2 and 2 together. Like when I was younger, like whenever I'd have infections or something, like I was really sensitive to the antibiotics, and I was never really supplementing it. So even when I was younger, I was dealing with these issues. I was already like, you know, more of a constipated person, I guess, but it was even more so later on when I would, you know, take these antibiotics. And so it was just like, just knowing so much about what you're consuming can really give you good insight as to what you need and where you need to move. And so just keeping like that in check and being like, okay, like, hey, like, you know, my gut is like a little, I'm feeling really like, you know, really clogged up, like, oy, you know, like, what does that tell me? Oh man, I mean, you know, I haven't had as much fiber, or maybe I should add some more chia seeds, or like, do I have any probiotics in the fridge? Like, just different things like that gives more insight, you know. gives more insight on just how to love yourself a little better and give yourself what you need, beyond just like working out, you know, going to work and drinking and like having fun on the weekends. Like, yeah, that's great. And don't get me wrong, I love to be social, but there's a lot of other stuff in our day-to-day that we can be doing to really reach optimum levels. I have done some healing already, and I'm already familiar with what the chakras do. And so for me, the biggest ones right now is the solar plexus in my gut and in my throat. The throat chakra is the ability to communicate and express yourself. The fact that I'm on here talking about it in a video is proof that I'm working on my throat chakra. I'm practicing and expressing myself and opening up. It's just crazy how like you can feel it, and like physically, if I stretch my neck, all this feels so tight and restricted. And I'm blessed that I was able to work with my Reiki master Andrea just yesterday to really help me open up. But there has been a lot of trauma in my life where I've restricted. I wouldn't raise my hand in class. I wouldn't tell someone what happened to me if I needed help. I would keep everything to myself, and you know, I tried to just figure it out. If something was happening that I didn't like, there was a big possibility that I wasn't going to say anything. And so I pretty much just took it all upon myself to figure all this out. Like when it came to body work, when it came to what I'm doing for my mental health, to my gut health, and you know, to the rest of my body, because it's all connected. You're one. Your brain and your body are together. They communicate with each other. If one is out of tune, it might just affect the other. So having a good balance of both of them was super important in my own health and well-being, and my ability to keep going and not give up and not let my cloudy days, you know, dictate a whole week. You know, like that was always really hard. So I really got empowered through having to go through this journey, really, and figuring out that, like, okay, yeah, I was labeled as this, I was labeled as that, and whatever, PTSD, this, but you know what? There's so much that I have the power on, so much control on. I want you to know, should you know anything, should you take away anything from this video, is that you have the ability to control so much in your life and of yourself. All of these energetic systems can be influenced by our environment, sometimes just through genetics, how we were born. But at some point in your life, the responsibility goes in your hands to take care of yourself and to nurture yourself the best way possible. What does that look like? For someone like me who was battling with depression, it would look like trying to find activities, trying to consume foods that were going to boost my brain, my neurotransmitters, my dopamine, my serotonin. But the mood cure, that pretty much tackled mood through foods and through what we're consuming. So I did a little test, and yeah, it turned out I was deficient in dopamine, in 5-HTP, L-tyrosine, and GABA. And so in my journey of discovering, or like just finding, you know, what to do, I went to the supplement store. And I bought all of that. And I didn't buy it from like a vitamin shop. It wasn't like from just a random chain. Like I looked into the ingredients, I looked into the company. I wanted to make sure I was consuming some good stuff. And there's some ranges in there, and in the book too, it also says like how much you should start with. Always start with the low dose. I mean, why? There's no need to take the most in one sitting. Just start little by little. It was just, again, just trying to test it out and seeing what felt right, seeing what felt good, and doing different combinations. And so I, you know, would take my 5-HTP and my L-tyrosine at night, and my GABA, because those all help with sleep. And then during the day, I would take my dopamine, you know? And so I would do that. I would cycle that. I would just do it to just finish the whole bottle. Of course, you can talk to your doctor about this, but I know some people have done, you know, like a couple month cycles, 2 to 3 month cycles on and then going off. because you're not supposed to, you know, just continue to do it for a long time, otherwise your body will stop producing it. So, you know, I usually just buy the bottle, and then when it's done, I'll take a break. But again, it's all up to you. It's all up to what your doctor says. And so that was an example to treat my mental health, right? I was exercising already, but why was I being a sad girl? Maybe it's because my brain chemistry was a little messed up. Let's see what I can do here. And these are natural, like, substances, like natural supplements, you know? It's not for a big pharma. Who knows what the hell is in those capsules? I mean, I don't know. But at least with these, I was able to find the sources. And so, in having to learn about the different types of traumas I experienced, to then giving myself what I need through food, diet, supplements, exercise, going out, being out in nature, like, it was just a cumulative effect, you know? If I was doing really well in one area, I might stop worrying about the other. So it was always trying to find the balance of all the different things that I was dipping my hands on, essentially. Because every day is an opportunity to really give it your all and try your best. And if you don't get it this day, try tomorrow, you know, and just keep trying. And don't beat yourself up over it, because most of the times the people that want to keep you sick, keep you traumatized, are making money off of you. So it's really important to bring this awareness and say, hey, actually, I'm gonna take my power back, and you're not gonna influence me anymore. Because all the processed foods, all these things, there's just so many layers. But the last thing they want you to do is to be happy and healthy and independent from everything that can influence you in a negative way. So that's pretty much what got me in this whole journey. And this is why I wanted to share, is because I have emotionally gone through things, physically went through things, everything that was leading me down a dark path, to now seeing so much ahead of me, being excited about trying again and doing different things, getting out of my comfort zone. It took me a long time to get on this video, but we're ready, and I'm glad I never gave that up. So I will be posting more about everything. So thank you so much for joining me on this video. I can't wait for more, and I can't wait to see you guys again.